than with 2.29. We also added native Android Studio support, one of the most requested features, and a ton of under-the-hood changes. We have a whole new undo-redo system, tons of rendering improvements that are going to make your games feel even better. So we're really excited for you guys to try out Buildbox 2.3. It's available now if you're a subscriber, and of course a complete license is included in the Buildbox Master Collection, no subscription needed. Alright guys, so now it's time for some fun. We're going to start revealing the mystery software, and we had so much fun with you guys playing this game where we were showing the different screenshots and then you guessing what it was. The first blog post had over 100 comments from the community, and this first mystery software is something we're very passionate about, something we talked about a lot internally before creating. It solves one of the biggest issues that we've had in our own game business and what our customers have had, and we're very excited to announce the release of Animation Box 2.0. With this software, we wanted to think about how animations are created and what people really need in their game. And then we wanted to make it easy, just like Buildbox is for game design, but for animation. Animation Box 2.0 is the ultimate solution for creating amazing characters and animations in your games. It's taken us 2 years to create this software, and we spent a lot of time thinking about software and how we can help them create the most professional animations possible while still keeping it super easy to use. If you've seen Buildbox before, then Animation Box is going to be very intuitive. This is the welcome screen. You're going to open this up when you initially open up the software. Here on the left-hand side, you can open up your recent files. You can also open up a whole new project that's not listed there or create a new one. My favorite new feature, though, is just like 2.3, we have these great animations that show you all the different presets that we've included in Animation Box. There's dozens of options here, including these fantasy heroes. We have minimal characters that are very easy to edit, and then also animals down here. Now, at the top, we also have bone structures if you want to create your own characters from scratch. And speaking of creating from scratch, for the first time in Animation Box, you can actually build your own bone structure from nothing. I'll show you that in a second, but what I really like is to start with presets, very similar to Buildbox, and then I create something off of that. So let's go back here and choose the heroic girl. Alright, so here we are in Animation Box with our character. Now I can pause this at any time by clicking right here on the play button. And what I'm going to do is walk you through the various parts of this software. On the left-hand side, you'll see we're in the category of fantasy heroes, and we have a lot of different assets here, and these are all separated by different heroes. Now, if we scroll back up to the top, we can click here and then choose minimal character. And here we have a lot of assets that can be mixed and matched together to create really great minimal characters. I'll show you this later, but you can see we have very interesting mouths and eyes and legs and all of this, so you can create something truly unique that will look like nothing else that anyone else has created. Finally, you might want to add your own category. Let's call this personal. So now we have fantasy heroes, minimal characters, and personal. We can of course edit this name or just delete it completely. Personal is still selected, and at the bottom I can import my assets. I'm going to choose Fireboy here, my images, and then go ahead and select all of these straight from a BB doc. Now you'll see on the left-hand side I have all of these images here in this section, and you can create as many categories as you want. But for now I'm going to go ahead and delete these because I don't really need them right now. The next section is the outliner, and this is just like the outliner on Buildbox. Here we can move objects up and down and change their layer position. We can select objects, hide them, and then lock them and more. In the middle, of course, we actually have the workspace. This is where we can move objects around, we can resize them. We do have multiple select, just like in Buildbox 2.3, and we can easily edit and manipulate not only the images, but the actual bone structure as well. This is how we can make the characters taller, skinnier, larger, etc. On the right-hand side, just like Buildbox, we have our options bar, and this is going to be for the selected object. Here we can change everything from the hue and quickly change the colors of clothing on characters and more, which is really great. The brightness, the saturation, and the contrast, and even the opacity. We have many more options here, including changing the image. And this is pretty cool. If we wanted to make this character an old man, then we could go here and find this great old man image from Danny, which looks fantastic, move around the assets a little bit, and then hit the play button to see the animation in effect. Now, while we're down here, we can choose from different animations like running and jumping and immediately see it in context with our new images. We can also choose attack and see him actually fighting, dying, and more. And just like Buildbox, if you press the up button on the animation window here, and I'm going to zoom in so you can see this closer, I can choose any joint and see all of the animation curves. If you've ever made a menu animation in Buildbox, it's the same exact way to animate your characters. We can hit play and see that this is rotating and see the exact map of the rotation. And of course, we could easily change that. And in real time, we'll see it moving on the animation. So I'm going to try making this a little bit more subtle by just moving these up a little bit more. So now he's not walking quite as dramatic as he was before. And it's very simple to edit all of these joints to create a walk or an animation that really suits your needs. Now, obviously, if you work on an animation and you've done really well, you want to save your work. Well, we have two different options here. We have one where you can create a new animation from scratch, or you can duplicate. I'm going to call this the subtle walk. Great. Now you'll see we have this new custom animation down here, and we can, of course, edit this name or delete it. Now that we've gone through the basics, let's have some fun and create some unique things to add to this character. First off, at the top right, we can click this button here to turn off the skeleton of the character. Now that we've done that, something looks a little out of place to me. And I'm going to go ahead and multiple select these three items and move them over, but I feel like this arm should be behind the shirt instead of in front of it. So I'm just going to click on the arm here, right click, just like we're in Buildbox, and send it to the back. All right, that worked pretty well, but now we're obviously getting this covering it up a little bit. So I'm also going to send that to the back, bring it forward one, and there we go. Now let's see how this looks when I play it. All right, that feels a little bit more natural. Let's see what it looks like when he's running. Okay, yeah, I feel like that works okay. Next up, I want to do something interesting. I want to add a hat to the character. And I can easily do that just by dragging one over from here. But I need to attach it to a bone structure. So I'm going to click this button here to enable the skeleton again. And then I'm going to grab this bone right here where his head is located. Notice when this is highlighted, we have a plus sign, similar to a path on Buildbox. I'm going to click this, and we've added a whole new bone structure that nothing is attached to. I'm going to put it right here. Then I'm going to grab a hat, and I'm going to put it on top of this bone structure. There we go. So now we have a nice, cute hat right over here. Now, don't forget, we also have this ponytail over here. I could delete that, but I think I'll keep it on there. And now I'm going to play it and see what happens. All right, so we can see that the hat is attached perfectly to the head. It's moving right along with the head. And this is because it's attached to a bone that is also attached to the head. So they move in unison. But what if we wanted this hat to tilt a little bit back and forth? Well, that would actually be pretty easy. First, I'm going to go back to the first frame here of the animation. Then I'm going to hit the record button right here. Now we can tell we're in record mode because we have this orange outline around the whole workspace. So this is pretty cool. We have 60 frames here that we can scroll through, and we can change the number of frames at any time. But what I'm going to do is find somewhere around the middle. And around this part, when the head tilts back, I'm going to move this, and it's going to record my actions. And we're going to have it come right over here near the ponytail. So let's see how that looks. As the character moves, it starts to shift the hat back, and then it's going to come back forward slowly. All right, let's see what this looks like when we check out the animation. All right, not bad, but you know what? I think we need to change the curve a little bit. It seems like it slides back a little bit too fast. To do this is pretty easy. We just want to open up the animation editor and then make sure we click on the point that we're animating. So we can see right here, we have a pretty abrupt change on the X position. So what I'm going to do is drag this point a little bit to the left and also soften the curve a little bit. Now we can click on position Y and do the same thing, and then we can manually put a little bit of a hop there right about the time it shoots over. All right, so not bad. I think this is looking good. It adds a nice little subtle hint of humor to the animation. So this is pretty cool. I think this is working out well, but I really want to see what a monster head would look like instead. So I'm going to take this monster head that Danny did, flip it around. Let's see if we can even keep the hat on there by moving it up a little bit on the top and see how this works out. All right, pretty cool. It actually works perfectly, and it's because we're using bone structure for this. So you can put as many images as you want on this, and all the animations would still work seamlessly. All right, guys, so that's just some of the features of Animation Box. There's a lot to this software, but it's extremely easy to use. You can choose how many frames for your animations, and export is just one click. Super simple. You can even import PNG animation sequences into the software, which is pretty cool, and have animations within your animations. All right, guys, so that's Animation Box 2.0. It's a brand new version. It's been recreated from the ground up, and we have a new animation timeline. This opens up a lot of advanced animation control inside of the software. You can now create your own bones and your own animations. We have tons of high-quality presets, and you can make your own presets as well. You can easily import PNG sequences, and we have a ton of export options where you can choose your own frames per second, image sizes, and more. And most importantly is it complements Buildbox perfectly. We've done what Buildbox did to game creation for animation. And if you already know Buildbox, then you're going to pick it up immediately. And of course, just like Buildbox and all of our software, it works on both Mac and PC. It's extremely easy to use, but it still gives you professional results. And that's the goal with the Master Collection. We want all of this software to be simple to use, just like what we did with Buildbox, but give you results that are going to impress and really help you create amazing games. All right, guys, so mystery box number 2. This was a real fun one on the blog. A lot of really great guesses for you guys. We definitely stumped some people because this is totally new software. It's something we've never done before. It's our first time truly delving into graphic design software, and it's called Pixel Box. Now, Pixel Box does for graphic design what Buildbox does for making games and what Animation Box does for creating animations. It makes it insanely easy, and design is notoriously difficult for game developers, but Pixel Box makes it simple. So the first thing you're going to notice about Pixel Box is how intuitive the user interface is. If you know how to use Buildbox, you're going to feel right at home here, but the features are very different. In fact, this is the first software we've ever created that natively supports vector graphics. It also supports PNG and regular images as well, and a few pretty cool features that you won't find in any other graphic design software, including thousands of vector icons and images that you can use in your games, full alpha channel support, an animation editor, design presets, and more. Let's check it out. All right, so when you open up Pixel Box, you're going to see something familiar. This is going to be a running theme throughout all of our software. One thing that really separates us from everyone else is the fact that we have a lot of templates and presets built into our software, and that gives you a strong starting point. So you can see up at the top, we have presets where you can choose from icons or mobile and immediately start a project that is in the iPhone 8 resolution, iPhone 8 Plus, Android, iPad Pro, etc. Down under templates, we have UI landscape, UI portrait, and then just more broad examples. Now, if we go down into landscape, we have every page for your user interface in your game that you could possibly need. I mean, everything from multiple game overs to level complete to settings to shops and more. We have the same thing here for portrait. And then under examples, these are more focused on designs. For example, my favorite one is over here on page 2, this light blue one. Now I'm going to click on this and it will open up in Pixel Box. All right, so now here we go. This is Pixel Box. You can see it in action. I'll go ahead and walk you through the various aspects of the software. Up here at the top is probably the most important section. We have our different tools. Now with Pixel Box, we have vector graphics, so we need tools like a shape creator. This one here will create rectangles, this one circles, stars and diamonds and pointed objects, polygons, and then a line tool. We'll check those more out in a little bit. Right down here we have shapes, which are our different icons and shapes you can use in your game. This is really cool. There's 1,392 different icons. These are broken down into multiple different sets, including some like the feather set, which are all going to look very similar, our 8-cell set that we created in-house, the original set that was in our previous master collection, and more. This is really cool because you'll never again have to try to find an icon or an image on Google Images to use in your game. All right, so next up we have images over here as well that you can incorporate into your designs. We have 2,056 different images, tons of different backgrounds and borders and buttons and effects and objects that you can use in your UI designs, your character designs, or when creating objects. Then, of course, right here we have the outliner. Everything's put in these nice and neat groups. Not only is this good for organization, you can move them around, but it's also great for exporting. You can export by group. That way, you just click one button and your whole user interface is exported perfectly and ready to import into Buildbox. Now, once we select an object or button inside of Buildbox, on the right-hand side, we'll have all the different options from name and position, rotation, size. We can fill it with a color or also a gradient. And we even have style templates here. We can just click these and change what an element looks like. So that's the basics of Pixelbox. And we could just use this template. It looks great, but I like to create unique things. So we're going to start from a very basic template and then create a high-quality user interface just in about 1 minute. All right, so here's our simple template. And the first thing I'm going to do is use our images to change out the background. Now I'm going to edit the color settings to get the exact color that I want. All right, so next up, I'm going to change around some of these icons. I think there's too many on the screen. I'm going to just choose a few of these. Now I'm going to change out the game logo. Let's call this game Triple Fall and change out the font. Now it's time to have some fun using a really cool feature inside of Pixelbox called an alpha window. Anytime you highlight an object inside of Pixelbox, you can just click on this button and turn it into a window. Now I can drag and drop a new background image into the software, resize it, and then drag it into this new window. And this is a really cool advanced feature to give great effects to your design. I'm going to highlight this background that's inside of the window, and I'm going to change the hue. Let's also desaturate this slightly. Now I'm going to make this Game Modes button a little bit smaller, change out the font, and also use an alpha window to make the button look similar. All right, guys, so a pretty cool before and after. It only took me about 6 minutes in real time and about 1 minute sped up here for this video. And as you can see, it really helps to have a starting point, if nothing else, just to give you inspiration for your design. When we decide to export, we choose if we want PNG images, an icon, or animation that will actually export frames. And then if we want to combine just one image or split into groups or completely separated for every single layer. We're going to split this one into groups. As you can see, Pixelbox separated all of these nicely for us. We have our logo and our buttons and our background, so we can easily import it into Buildbox. So Pixelbox does a lot more than just user interface screens. For example, it's really good for making icons. And this is especially true because of all the assets we have built inside of Pixelbox. So here you're seeing me create an icon that would go great with a match 3 game like Bejeweled or Candy Crush. All the backgrounds, effects, and objects you see are included in the software, and it's easy to get dramatic changes in your design by changing color settings like hue and blending. We also included all the original assets from the original Master Collection. As you can see, these are all very high-end and look great for icons. You can also use Pixelbox to make assets for your games, like this platform here. We can build this out and really make it look professional by adding effects. Here I'm adding this rusty, smoky effect on top of this pretty plain-looking platform. It gives it a lot of dimension. We could take this a step further by turning it into a pixel platform. We would just overlay these pixel backgrounds on top, reduce the saturation, and we would end up with a pretty cool looking platform made in a few minutes just using what's inside of Pixelbox. Alright guys, so now I'm going to show you probably the most unique feature of Pixelbox, and you won't find this even in really high-end design software, and that's full support for animations. You can drop in PNG sequences straight into Pixelbox and then add some pretty crazy effects. And you can even do something a little bit strange. You can animate your animations. Here's what I mean. Nick made this diamond and it looks great. This would be a really good power-up. As you can see, it turns around in a perfect loop. But what if we wanted to make this hop a little bit more and make it a little bit more dramatic in your game? Well, this would be pretty simple. So I'm going to select this diamond and I'm going to press this up arrow to enter animation mode. Now let's go back to the first frame and change how it rotates. I'm going to place 2 points, one at the beginning and one at the end. That way it'll loop back to its original position. And then right here, I'm going to have it rotate a little bit to the right, and then right here, a little bit to the left, just slightly. Let's see what that looks like. All right, so that looks pretty cool, but I think we can even do one better. Let's go up here to position Y. Do the same thing and put down a point at the beginning and the end, and then drag this down just slightly to get a very small hop. And let's see what that looks like. All right, so we're already looking really cool. We've already added a lot to this just by having a little bit more movement. And you can imagine how this will look in your game as a small coin to pick up. It's a lot cooler than just the regular rotating one. Now we're going to do something interesting. I'm going to zoom in a little bit so you can see. And then I'm going to click on this diamond up here, copy and paste it, and then turn this new one into an alpha window. Now I'm going to go over here to Images and then choose Effects. I'm going to grab this green one here, And we're going to put this inside of the alpha window. And it's going to look like some liquid moving and bouncing around as this gem moves back and forth. To do this, I just grab the effect and drop it into the alpha window. And now you can see that we can see it behind there. Next, I want to animate the liquid inside of here. So what I'm going to do is make sure it's selected and then do the same thing. Put a point at the very beginning and the end and have it jump slightly in the middle. Let's see what this looks like. All right, so here we go. Looks really cool. We have this green liquid inside of the crystal bouncing up and down as the crystal is moving. Very subtle and a truly professional effect that we added in just a couple minutes. So that's how to create icons and game objects and even animations with Pixelbox. But you can also design your whole game here if you want to. And with easy access to background overlays and special effects, you can create some pretty dynamic looking designs fast with this software. Alright guys, so that is Pixelbox. It is the only image editing software created for game developers, one of the few image editing softwares that have animation control like you saw, and definitely the easiest to use. So with Pixelbox, you get completely new software. This has never been available before. It's only in the Master Collection. It creates user interfaces, icons, objects, and more, even full complete games. It has advanced alpha window control that lets you do some really cool things with the software. You can import PNG animation sequences. You can also create complex animations inside of the software, and we have multiple export options including auto split. That way it's really easy to import your design into Buildbox. Alright guys, so now let's talk about mystery software number 3, another really fun one that we released the screenshots with the community. We had a lot of feedback from people. Everyone knew it was sound software, but a lot of guesses on what it might actually be. This is another Master Collection 2.0 exclusive. We're really excited to announce the release of Soundbox 2.0. We always wanted to create sound design software for games, the perfect sound design software. And we think with Soundbox 2.0, we finally hit that point. This is the only audio production software that's ever been created for game development. And you'll have thousands of included sounds that will sound great for games. There's a ton of new professional features. Let's check it out. Soundbox 2.0 has been a bit of a pet project for me. I've been producing music for years and I've always wanted to make production software. And with this version, we've added a lot of professional features like time stretching, warping, and of course, a ton of new sounds. In fact, Soundbox has over 7,500 sounds that we've created and you can use in your games as many times as you like. You'll never have to go buy music or sound effects again. Now let's go over the various functions inside of Soundbox. On the left-hand side here, we have our libraries. We have the first library that came with Soundbox 1, and then we have the new library, Volume 2. Now you'll notice we can sort these by name, length, type, etc. We can also add our own libraries, which I'll show you how to do in a minute, and then we can also search. So let's say you need a jump sound for a character. You just type in jump, and in real time it pulls up hundreds of different options for your jump noise. If you want to type in defeated, then again, we have hundreds of different options for that as well. Anything you need in your game, you can just search for right there. Up at the top here, we have play. We also have our stop button as well, a loop button, and then we also have some other options here we'll talk about later that have to do with grid and timing. Really cool stuff there. Now, on the right-hand side, we have our master volume right here, easy to change. We now have VU meters as well. That way you can make sure that your levels aren't peaking on your master, and then you can name different samples here. We can choose and change different options, including the name. We can change the color of this if we want to easily identify it. We can listen to the sample here, see how long it is, change the original BPM, add some sync options, which we'll go over in a minute, and more. Finally, here in the actual workspace area, we can change the volume right here. We can also grab this and fade the volume in or out. We have pan options, and then we can also mute. So for example, if we wanted to mute this volume, we could do that, or solo it, so it's the only one that you hear. Like all our software, it's super easy to use. So let's say you wanted to make a defeated noise. All right, now most people would just use a single sample, but I'm gonna be honest with you, it won't sound that good, and professional sound designers never do that. So instead, I would go up here and I would type defeated. All right, now I'm gonna go ahead and listen to some of these. And I can do that by clicking on this little speaker down here. All right, so now that that's turned on, I can just click these and hear the sound. All right, so I'm going to grab this first one, and then I'm going to put that in the very beginning of the file here. I'll zoom in and then bring it back to the front. So now let's go ahead and exit this out and check out some of the new sound. Under character, we have some jump noises. Now, typically I wouldn't use a jump noise for dying, but who knows, it might work. Let's see. All right, so that surprisingly might work. So let's try to do something cool with this. Okay, so first let's listen to it. All right, not bad, but I think we can improve this. And there's two different interesting ways that we can do this. First off, you'll notice right here there's a little square. I can grab this and time warp the sample. See, I can make it really fast, or I can make it really long. Now, making it long kind of gives a cool feeling to it, but we can actually do something even different. So I'm going to pull it back into the original position. And now I'm going to lock the pitch and speed. Now it's going to change the pitch as I expand the sample. Let me show you. Notice that it's not only extended and longer, it's actually deeper. For a death sound, I think this is probably better, but that's a little much. I'm going to try it about right here. So pretty cool. The last thing I think we need to add to this is some sort of musical pad. Something that would kind of sound cool when we die that we can hear fade out slowly. So this is a pretty big one. I'm going to go ahead and make it a little bit shorter, and let's see what this sounds like. Okay, cool, but how about an explosion? That would probably really make this sound nice as well. Or even a second pad first, and then an explosion. So let's see what this sounds like. All right, I like that. And let's type explosion in here, and we'll have a lot of different crash and explosion effects. I'm going to listen to some of these quickly and choose one. I think that last one's going to be good. A little bit loud though, so I'm going to turn down the volume, and let's see what it sounds like. Awesome, much more professional. That's what sound designers do. They layer sounds to get a really full sound in your game. All right, so what about making music for your games? Well, that's pretty easy too. It's actually as easy as going to music loops and finding one you like, dragging it to the software and hitting play. You can do that if you want, but if you're like me, you probably want to create music for your game. So you'll notice we have two sections here called Music Creator. We have one here in Library Volume 1, and we have another one down here in Library Volume 2. Now, I'm going to talk about the one in Library Volume 2 only because it is the newest one. We have a ton of new loops. We spent over $5,000 getting all these loops created, and they're solely focused on indie games. We have 8-bit loops and atmospheres and deep house and dubs, etc. So let's go ahead and build something out. Let's start with deep house, and I'm going to start off with some drum tops, and we'll just go ahead and grab a couple random ones here and put them in here. And then let's also get a kick as well. Got to have a kick drum there for our song. I'll grab this one. Looks like it's pretty hot though, so I'm going to turn it down a little bit. And let's see what this sounds like. All right, not bad, but we definitely need some bass lines and some other stuff to throw in here as well. So let's grab one of these simple bass lines. I'm going to pull this out so I can see it. And here we have some called Berlin and London and San Francisco. And those are inspired by different cities. Let's go with a London one here and see what this sounds like. All right, cool. Yeah, I think that's sounding all right. So now let's go ahead and get a pad. I'm going to go with one of these introspective pads. They're going to be pretty long and have a lot going on. Now you can see it's pretty long, so I'm going to need to duplicate these over here. That way we can go ahead and keep up with it. There we go. Let's do this one as well and see what it sounds like. All right, cool. Now, if I was going to do this for the main menu, I would want to go ahead and delete the kick drum. We might bring that in later on for the actual song, but I think for the beginning part, this would be cooler. And also, I might not bring this in until a little bit later. Yeah, that doesn't sound bad. All right, so now what we're going to do is at this point, we're actually going to bring in the song and let it start coming in with the kick, and we'll add a snare in a second as well. There we go. Let's go ahead and click here, and we'll go back to the drum tops, and then we'll grab a couple of these robot samples. I think these are going to be kind of cool. And then let's go ahead and get a snare as well. That should be in claps and hats right here. We'll go ahead and just grab the first clap and snare. And then let's grab this one here I call Hat Tricks, and that will be our hi-hat. And we'll keep this stuff in as well, and let's see what our song sounds like. Alright, not too bad. Sounds pretty cool, actually. Now I'm going to show you guys something fun. What if we wanted to slow this down? All we'd have to do is come over here and change the BPM. So right now it's at 123 beats per minute. How about we try this out at 115? Alright, what if we took this way down to 80? You know, I think we might can turn this into a chill out song. Notice that as we slow it down, everything's still in beat because of the time warping inside of Soundbox. I'm going to remove some of these in bullet time, and let's go ahead and try to turn this same exact song into a chill out song by adding a few more pads in. Cool, totally different vibe in about 5 seconds by changing the speed, removing a couple items, and adding a few more. So as you can see, making music, high quality, really cool music, is very simple now with Soundbox 2. Let me show you some songs I made all in about 30 minutes with the software. So pretty cool, and all of that was created just with the sounds inside of Soundbox. As you can see, you can make everything from soundscapes to techno to retro music and more. And finally, if you do have some samples you want to import, it's super easy. On the left-hand side, you just click Add. Now I'm going to search for a sample pack. I have a great one here from deadmau5. I'm just going to choose this and open it. Now I can see the samples are loaded, and I can just grab these loops and put them straight into the software. Here, I'll grab a couple here. We can sync these just by clicking on the sync button and then play them to hear it. And of course, we could mix and match these with sounds from our own library if we wanted to and create a whole new song. And when you're ready to export, you can choose an AIF file, FLAC, various MP3s, or WAV files. Alright guys, so that's Soundbox 2.0, a complete redesign. We have a brand new audio engine. We have full syncing of samples, lock and pitch control. We now have BPM grid snapping. We have time warp. You can time warp your samples in real time. And now we have over 7,500 audio files built inside of the software. We spent tens of thousands of dollars on this. And I want to mention all of these samples, guys, were created by us in-house. All right, we actually paid people to make all of these sounds. You won't find them anywhere else. And also we have multiple export options, everything from WAV files to MP3 and even FLAC. And it's the only audio software ever created specifically for game development. All right, guys, now it's time for mystery box number 4. And this one probably caused the most amount of drama within the community. We had a ton of comments. People were really curious and trying to figure out what it is. It was obvious that it had something to do with 3D, and we had some great guesses from everyone on our blog. We're really excited to announce a completely new piece of software that is about 3D modeling, about creating 3D objects, and it's called Voxel Box. And now it's the easiest and most intuitive way to create 3D models for your games. Voxel Box is different. It's actually very different. We found that every 3D modeling and voxel solution out there overcomplicates the problem. So with Voxel Box, we created the software that we wanted to use. Software that was extremely simple, really fun to create with, and works just the way you would expect it to. If you've ever played Minecraft before, then you already know how to use this software. It's very intuitive to use, but we also have advanced features specifically for game developers, like dynamic lighting control, voxel creation, model saving and exporting, and a full render camera so you can use these in 2D games as well. But the part that we're most passionate about is actually creating the art. And that's what makes Voxel Box so magical. Just by playing with this software, you can create really cool art for your games, and you don't have to have any previous artistic experience. Let's check it out. Alright guys, so this is the Voxel Box software. First I'm going to walk through the different sections of the software, then I'll show you how we can make voxels, game objects, and more. First, on the left-hand side, we have our toolbar up top, and then our asset list below. We've created 100 different objects for you to use. That's a collection of voxels, just like you see right here in the main screen. All of these are in this asset list. And you can, of course, create your own. Next over, we have the outliner. Just like our other software, this is where you can group items, put them together. Also, you'll see a couple new things here, like the render camera and the sun. In the middle here is where we can select different objects. Here we can actually move them around easily. We can rotate them and more. Once an object is selected, like the sun here, we'll have various options for it on the right-hand bar. Now we can manually change these if we want to, and vastly change the lighting in our scene. It's easy to move around your 3D space by using your mouse. You can scroll through, zoom in and out, and turn around as you need. It's actually very easy to move around the world. We put a lot of thought in this, and we actually move objects around a little bit different than any other 3D software. Finally, last but not least, down here we have our voxel bar, and this is where we have all of our different colored voxels. You also can group these and create new groups for yourself. We'll have some default ones for you as well. And if you want to add a new voxel, you just hit this button on the right-hand side. This will open up the voxel editor. You can easily drag and drop images and have it free. That means you're going to put a new image on each side, or you can do texture 6. That's going to make it really simple, one image for all 6 sides. Or you could do texture 411. This would be Minecraft style. We'll put one on the sides there. Then we need a different one for the top. And finally, one here for the bottom. And all these textures that you see came from Pixelbox. So there's hundreds of textures there that work great for voxels. And then the other option is just to choose a color. Once you've made your decision, you press OK, and it's added to the bar. Now, how do we use these voxels? Well, that's actually the fun part. That's the whole point behind Voxel Box, so let me show you. Alright, so as previously mentioned, all of these are called objects, and they're a collection of voxels. So here's what I mean. We have this cute little bird here, and he's just a collection of different squares. And if I want to edit this guy, I just click on this edit button here. Notice now that everything is grayed out around him, and he has a blue grid under him, and that's how we know that we're in edit mode. So I'm going to edit this little guy, and I think he'd make a great looking chicken. So we're going to put a little bit of a red chicken comb on top of his head, and that is actually the technical term. I had to look it up on Wikipedia. Alright, I think that looks pretty good. Let's press the edit button once again, and we're back in normal mode. And I have to say, he fits in nicely. Mr. Chicken is looking pretty good. Alright, so as much fun as it is creating chickens, I think it's time we create something totally unique. Alright, so now let's create a minimal style game, an isometric game that you might see at the top of the App Store. These are obviously very popular, and Voxel Box does it really well. The first thing I'm going to do is drag and drop a single voxel, this blue voxel, right here into the workspace. Now you can see I'm in editing mode. I'm going to go ahead and build out this voxel quickly, and then I'm going to go out of editing mode and then go over to scale mode. I'm going to make this bigger, and this is going to be my backdrop. So what I'm going to do is make this a little bit thinner there. Let's move this back here and make it just a little bit bigger. All right, so I think that's a pretty good starting point. Down at the bottom here, I have a lot of different textured voxels. I'm going to choose this one that's empty. Of course, I can make a new one, but since this one's here, I'm going to choose texture 411, and then I'm going to drop some different textures that I made in Pixelbox. Then I hit OK, and my voxel's ready to go. Now I'm going to drag and drop this into the workspace. As you can see, I could now create more voxels around this, but I'm going to stick with one for now. I'm going to click the pencil to go out of edit mode, and then click the scale icon. Here, I could make this a lot bigger if I wanted to, but I actually want to do the opposite. So I'm going to change this to 0.10. All right, great. So now I have a tile. And that's exactly what I wanted for this. So I'm going to go up here, click on the position tool, and then we're going to move this to be on top of our blue sky background. Now I'm just going to adjust this a little bit and move it down. Alright, so that looks pretty good. Now I can go into edit mode and build out a fast level. In edit mode, it's super simple to use. You can lay any block on the ground, and then you can stack blocks on top of those. It's very intuitive, and you can definitely see the inspiration from voxel games like Minecraft. This was the most important part to us. We wanted this to be seamless and very easy to pick up and play with. And it works. Creating levels and art with this is really fun. Now let's go out of editing mode. This is looking pretty cool, but I think we can make it look even cooler. Let's change the Y scale and give it a lot of depth. Alright, check that out. So now we kind of go back to the original voxel look, and I like this. I think this would be a great puzzle game, a lot of different applications for this, and we could even make it a tower. But you know what, I think we're going to go back to the roots, especially if we're going to make a 2.5D game. I really like this kind of flat tile look. Alright, so let's do this. Let's do some bullet time. I'm going to try to build out a minimal game that I think could get picked up by a publisher, a featured worthy game that's really in the style of this isometric 3D look. And we'll make it a puzzle arcade game where a ball is trying to get through to the end of a course, avoid spikes and obstacles, to hit the goal and go to the next level. Alright, so this looks pretty cool. Definitely looks like a type of game that you would see at the top of the App Store that might get picked up by a publisher. It was all built inside a Voxel Box, and this is the actual 3D models. You can put this in 3D software, and you can also render it inside a Voxel Box. As you can see, the physically based renderer is pretty amazing. It's photorealistic, and you can export just like this in groups or single items and use it in software like Buildbox 2. Finally, you might have noticed we had some spikes in this game, and that's because we have shapes down here. You can actually import any OBJ file straight into Voxel Box. That means you can even use Google's new poly.google.com and download hundreds of different models to use in Voxel Box. Alright guys, so as you can see, Voxel Box is a completely new take on 3D design, and there's nothing else out there like it. And that's Voxel Box. Brand new software from us. It's the easiest 3D software ever made. You can create your own custom voxels with textures. You can build full voxel objects. You can import and export OBJ files. And just like Pixelbox, you can do one-click exporting for a whole entire scene. There's 100 objects that are included in the software. Of course, you can save your own voxels and your own objects, and it has an advanced 2D renderer if you want to use it in software like Buildbox 2. And what if you want to make games in true 3D? Well, I think it's time to discuss that. So we hope you've enjoyed hearing about all of the mystery software so far. And we have one more before the event ends. And you could say that we saved the best for last. Because while Buildbox 2 and Animation Box and Soundbox and Pixelbox and Voxel Box are all amazing, there is something missing here. There's something important. Something that would be a shame not to add to the Master Collection 2.0. And that is, of course, Buildbox 3.0. After working for a very long time, over a year and a half on Buildbox 3, I'm super excited to do the first walkthrough. Now, Buildbox 3 will be officially released in mid-2018, but Master Collection 2 users get it first, before anyone else. They'll be getting access to Beta 1, which will be coming out in under a month, and then also be getting access to each additional beta and the full complete version, along with all 3.x updates. As you can imagine, there's a host of new features in Buildbox 3, many that have never been seen in a game development platform, period. You can create any game with the software, both in the realms of 2D or 3D, yet it's still easy to use. Let's check it out. So here it is, the first full look at Buildbox 3D. Now, the first thing you're going to notice is it's a very familiar layout. If you know how to use Buildbox 2, then all of this is going to be pretty natural, especially if you've already learned a little bit about Voxel Box. On the left-hand side, of course, we have our menu right here, and then we have our asset bar, just like we do in Buildbox 2. We have effects and also some new logic pieces that we'll go over. Then we have our outliner. Up here, just like Voxel Box, we have our different tools that we use to move around the 3D scene editor. Now we have some extra 3D options here, and we have full language support as well. That way you can translate your games into multiple languages. When you select an object, you'll be able to change options on the right-hand side. Then over here, if we click on an asset, like this OBJ file, 3D file that you can import into Buildbox 3, we can actually see more detailed information that we can change, including textures, materials, light settings, and more. You might notice the lack of components. That's because there's a full node system, which I'll show you in a second. But first, let's talk about the 3D scene editor. Moving around in this 3D space is simple. It's just like Voxel Box. You can easily move around, zoom in, select objects, and more. Here we have a game that Nick's been working on. If we wanted to, we can easily get right into the action and start designing levels. And making levels in 3D is just as easy as 2D. We even still have the WASD commands so you can duplicate objects easily. Another thing you'll notice with Buildbox 3 is there's no more drop wheel. Now you can just drag and drop any object straight into the scene editor. This can be images or 3D objects, like this cow you might have remembered me making in Voxel Box. Working with these 3D objects is easy. It's just like Voxel Box. Let's say I wanted to change the color of these purple cubes. All I would have to do is go to Objects and select it, and then drag a new texture over here to the texture section. Notice they immediately update. You can of course find objects like these for free on poly.google.com and various sites, buy them, or just make them in Voxel Box. Just like in Buildbox 2, we can preview at any time by clicking the preview button. Here we can see the game that Nick's working on, and you know what? This looks really good. You'll notice it's a lot brighter than the actual scene. This is because he used some new additive blending effects on top of this. Really makes it look great. If I had one complaint, it's that it might be just a little bit too simple. You can kind of do this in Buildbox 2D. Now that we have 3D, I want to see some twists and turns. We'll get to that in a second. So a lot changes with 3D. For example, how are we going to edit how this character moves and jumps? Well, it's not that different from Buildbox 2. First, we're going to click on the character, and then you'll notice on this right-hand side, we have an edit button. This pulls up the brain for this character. We call these nodes. And each one of these blocks is an important part of how this character moves and interacts with the world. Now on the left-hand side, we could choose from a lot of different nodes. Things like swipe controls and buttons and physics and more. And now let me quickly show you how this works. This is the start node, and that means that all of these are going to be activated. We immediately activate a physics 3D node, which is where we can change the object type, shape type, collision group, friction, restitution, and more. We also activated an animation 3D node. Here we can change the texture and some other options. We have the nice trail effect that was behind him, including the texture, jump, collision, and then a button so he can move. Now on each of these, you'll notice at the bottom we could even add more attributes. This gives you a lot of control over your character, but it's still pretty simple to use because of the vast amount of presets we have built into Buildbox 3. And another really important feature that I'll show you now. This section's for advanced users. But what if you just want to use Buildbox in the old way and make it simple? Well, with all of our presets, we will pin specific features. For example, I'm going to pin the texture here and all the other options for animation. Now I'm going to close out the nodes and we'll go back to Buildbox. Notice on the right-hand side, I now have all of those animation options pinned here right in the character section. You can pick and choose these options as we will do for you in all of the 100 presets that will be in the final version. So you only have to go into the node editing mode if you really want to deeply edit your character. Speaking of characters, they're not the only ones that get to have fun with nodes. You can also add nodes to any object, action, and more. Oh yeah, and one more thing. We know that our pro users are going to be very excited about a new feature they've been waiting on for a while. Included in Buildbox 3 is a fully functional JavaScript engine that accesses the underlying C++ code inside of the software. With this, you can not only create your own nodes, but you can share them with friends and make Buildbox do some pretty crazy stuff. Since Buildbox is still being actively developed and is in beta, we're constantly adding new nodes and functions to the software. We'll go over a full list of these nodes when we release the beta to Master Collection customers, including the if-then node, the logic nodes, and more. So as you saw, Nick used these nodes to create this game, which is kind of cool, but again, it could be done in Buildbox 2. How could we add some twists and turns and paths to this to really make it unique? Well, to understand how we can do that, first, let me show you how scenes work in Buildbox 3. Just like Buildbox 2, we have the beginning of a scene, and then over here, we also have the end of a scene. But how can we twist this path and move it around? Well, first off, I'm going to delete this gray path. And then I'm going to use a new logic piece called a scene path. Now, this is pretty cool. Right now it looks the same or possibly even worse. But check this out. If I grab the end of it here and then use my different tools, I can move this path around. Now, I'm going to choose the rotation one and use this one to move it up. As you can see, now we have a ramp. But there's one problem. I don't want a gray path in the middle of my game. To fix this, I just click on level path here, and you'll notice I have a place where I can put a texture. I'm going to grab this ground texture, and there we go. Now these aren't looking too good, so I'm going to go ahead and take some of this off. And now I'm going to click on the end again, and move this around some more. Notice how it's making an S-shaped curve as I zoom out. It'll add and subtract more the path is needed. Again, I can go to the rotation mode, make it taller, make it bend up, make it more windy, and change it in many different ways. What's truly interesting is how the scenes will actually flow together. See, at this end point here is where the next scene will start. That means regardless of how crazy I make this, all the scenes are going to line up perfectly. Let me show you some examples. Alright, so as you can see, every time we reset the game, it comes up with a whole new path, just like the random endless levels in Buildbox 2, but in 3D using this scene path. And here's an example of the scene path in action. You can see the characters perfectly following this path. It's very smooth, no clipping, and all in 3D. Alright guys, so that's just a small taste of what all you can do with Buildbox 3D. And this is just mainly showing minimal action style games. We have RPG elements, full inventory. You can create RTS style games, pool games, match 3, really anything you can come up with. We've been working on a lot of new games behind the scenes, so I'm going to show you a trailer of some of what we've been creating here at the Buildbox headquarters. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, so that is the first look at Buildbox 3.0. It's the only drag and drop game development tool that has 3D inside of it. And it's included for free with the Buildbox Master Collection. So Buildbox 3, it's a complete redesign of Buildbox. It has native 2D and 3D support. And this is really important, guys. We have not abandoned 2D. We're still very focused on 2D. There's a ton of new functionality, including nodes for 2D, that we'll share at a later date. And you can easily access 2D at any time on the menu screen just by right-clicking and choosing to create a 3D world or a 2D world. As you saw, we now have node-based game building. We also have JavaScript node creation and some things you didn't see tonight, like a new sound engine and editing, and easy menu animations, advanced visual filters, and more. So guys, that completes the collection. Buildbox 3 is the perfect way to close it out. That's the Buildbox Master Collection 2.0, a massive collection of not 5, but 6 pieces of software focused on game design. With this ultimate collection, you'll be able to create anything that you wish. It solves every piece of the game development puzzle, including 2D development, animation, sound design, graphics, 3D modeling, and even 3D game creation. It's truly a massive package of software solely focused on game design. So now let's discuss the price, because we decided to do something a little bit different here. See, the original Master Collection cost $5,999. And it sold out in only 1 week. But you won't have to pay anywhere near that for Master Collection 2.0. In fact, you'll pay less than half of that. Here's why. As part of this launch promotion, we're giving away Master Collection to anyone who purchases a full paid license to Buildbox in the next week. The full license to Buildbox 2 costs $2,675. And unlike a subscription, it never runs out. You'll also get full paid licenses to all the extra software, including Animation Box, Sound Box, Pixel Box, Voxel Box, and even Buildbox 3 for free with this limited promotion. But please note, this promotion will last for 1 week only. And after that, when we bring it back, it will have a highly increased fee. Again, the original Master Collection cost twice as much. We've passionately worked 2 years on this software and truly want to get it out to as many people as possible. And that's what this promotion is about. So how does this work? It's pretty simple. When you purchase a full paid license to Buildbox 2, we will send you license keys for the rest of the software. That's it. There's no expiration for any of the software, and it includes a complete license to Buildbox 3.0, including the final release version and all 3.x updates. You get all 6 pieces of software for the price of Buildbox. You can order now by clicking the link below, or heading to buildbox.com. So what if you already purchased Buildbox or you're a subscriber? We also made this as easy as possible. If you are a Buildbox subscriber, then purchase at the link below. Our system will automatically detect you and cancel your subscription since you'll have a full pay license. And it's the same for yearly subscribers. You just order by clicking the link below. We'll automatically detect and cancel your yearly subscription, and will also prorate you for the unused months on your credit card. If you purchased the first Master Collection or full purchase of Buildbox previously, then check your email for a heavily reduced upgrade option, including all the software and Buildbox 3. All right, guys, so that's Master Collection 2.0. Comes with Buildbox 2, Buildbox 3, Animation Box 2, Soundbox 2, Pixel Box, and Voxel Box, and it's free with a full Buildbox purchase. Also, all of this software works on OS X and on Windows. And with each software, you get a seat license that lets you install it on 2 computers. And finally, we do have a payment plan option available. If you prefer that, it's 3 payments of $9.99. You'll see that when you click on the link below to order, or if you head to buildbox.com, you should see a link on our homepage. So our goal here was to create the absolute best package and price it as affordable as possible, and we can't wait to see what you create. Finally, we do have 2 very special bonuses for people who order quickly. And bonus number 1 is called Game Dev VIP. The first bonus is only for the first 10 people because it's very time intensive for our staff. It's the Game Dev VIP package. These first 10 customers will work with Zach, me, Nick, and Danny, all from Team Buildbox, the same team behind our games department with 60+ million downloads. This small VIP group will have 4 live stream sessions with us at the Buildbox headquarters. We'll be helping you out, and you'll be building a game designed by our in-house artist, Danny, who is an amazing artist. He created all the graphics in our hit game, The Pit. He's worked on a lot of our really big titles. He's absolutely phenomenal. We'll be discussing your game ideas. We'll assist you with getting the art made with Danny, and then guide you on a launch strategy for your game. It's going to be a lot of fun, and typically a full-service VIP package like this would cost much more than the price of Buildbox, but the first 10 people get it for free. Bonus number 2 is an interesting one. It's called 43 Buildbox presets. So bonus number 2 is a pretty crazy idea that me and Danny actually came up with, and it's only for the first 20 people. Danny spent the last 2 months remaking all of the art from all of the Buildbox 2 presets. Yes, all 43 presets. And again, Danny's work is absolutely amazing, as you can see. He really knows how to nail this illustrative minimal look that publishers love and Apple loves to feature. Here's a few titles that we liked out of this I wanted to show you guys. The colors are amazing. It's very unique. And again, these are